out there talking to them.
We're ready to get started.
Are we really on air? Thank you. Thank you, Seth. Okay, welcome to our second budget workshop. We'll be starting off with Building and Planning Department and Department Head Laura Robertson. Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to go quickly through some highlights that we've had this year. For the planning department, we successfully restructured the planning department. I appreciated the board's support on this throughout the process. It followed the strategic plan that Clark and I had put together, and we're very thankful for that. We closed out 2 grants, Upper Union Street and St. Joseph's Crossing. Those are pretty old grants, so it's nice to have them done and submitting the paperwork to just get reimbursement on those. We also successfully submitted 2 DEC Climate Smart grants, and we already received word from DEC that we received the National Resource Grant. So excited to be working on those. One of my favorite things this year was holding an extremely successful composting event through a NYSERDA grant that we got to give away composting bins. The waiting list, I think, on that was like 200 people long, so we definitely feel like we have an unmet need there. And then mostly Clark has been reviewing drainage issues town-wide and looking at the increasingly severe climate events. And we've been working with the supervisor and Beth to work on planning for resiliency as these storms change. The building department has been working with the land bank on a new program to accelerate foreclosure on the abandoned homes and register vacant homes in the town of Niskayuna. I was just talking about Beth with this. We have to make sure that we account for that new revenue stream. It should incentivize private owners to turn these vacant homes over and get new homeowners in those homes faster. We're also in the final stages of hiring a part-time building inspector to try and help with the workload that those guys have. Planning board, final planning and construction phase for Rivers Ledge. Just approved the 66-unit senior center apartment building and the small commercial building at the front of the site. That's a big project that they really enjoy working on. They've also worked on the Volcano Hot Pot store that just opened, which is delicious if anybody hasn't been. The Union Street dentistry, some tenant changes on Union that filled some vacant commercial areas there. And you guys have probably noticed Chase Bank is almost up and running on both fronts in ShopRite Plaza. So both the drive-through ATM and the walk-in bank that took over the Karma Bistro and the cleaning tenant space. So we have only one vacant space now open in ShopRite Plaza in the front. And we currently have a tenant application for that at Planning Board. So we should be at 100% rented between like Balltown Road and ShopRite. And then the only vacancy we have left over there is the second floor over Fresnius. So it's very exciting that the businesses want to come and be in Niskayuna. The zoning board got a new chairman this year, John Hoke. He's great. I think he's been running the meetings very well, and the cases have been going well. Conservation Advisory Council, you guys have heard me talking about this a lot, but it was a successful combination with the Climate Smart Communities Task Force. It went very well this month. That should help us move climate smart programs forward, and that certification should help us be eligible for more grant awards. And then, their regular missions, pesticide-free outreach, LOMO initiatives, composting, Quiet Niskayuna, natural resources inventory, wildlife corridors. They have a pretty long list of stuff they're working on every meeting. They work hard. Just to update you, the charging stations that have been running in town parks, I'm able to go in and see how people are using those, and I can tell you that the Lions Park train station is heavily used. People are parked there almost every day, charging their electric vehicles at Lions Park train station. Not surprisingly, it's also our heaviest used park, but it's our heaviest used EV charging station. Blatnick Park comes in second, and River Road is not used very often, so it might be worth looking and seeing how we can improve use of the River Road Park one. And the comprehensive plan committees meeting regularly. They have been successfully collaborating with the Complete Streets Committee. They've been reviewing adjacent community plans, and they've been working on the structure for Niskayuna's next plan. Their big public outreach is going to start on November 14th. And then Tree Council had their most successful Arbor Day this year, and they're working on community outreach in their master plan. and I kind of touched on this earlier, but Complete Streets had big gains this year. They're very thankful to the town board. In addition to the new crosswalks going in Upper Union and St. Joseph's, the town board is the one that funded the Plum Street sidewalk. It's beautiful. People are very pleased about it, and we're pleased with the cooperation from the schools to complete their side of the sidewalk too. So I think every time I talk to them, they're very energized and excited about what the town has been doing to help alternative modes of transportation. And I appreciate you guys' support on all of those things. Probably should have talked a little slower.
So you mentioned the comprehensive plan. What is, I see for the consultant services line, do you have a recommendation for that? Does there need to be any shift or changes?
Yeah, I was just talking with Beth on that. I think that $30,000 would be ideal, but if it needs to be less, we can work with less.
What page are we on for that?
So that would be
14, I think?
14. Yep.
Under planning and zoning?
Yeah, under 0.54500 consultant services.
So talk to us a little bit more about that.
Okay, so the Complete Streets Committee worked pretty hard on an RFP. It was good work to do it anyway because
Complete streets or comp plan?
Sorry, comprehensive
Okay,
plan.
okay.
The C's really get me with anyway. Yeah, comprehensive plan committee worked on the RFP. We worked with Jamie, and it was a really good exercise in seeing what other communities are putting in their plans, how they're working on it. We didn't put it out because we didn't have the budget for it this year, and we did reduce the scope to try and help with the costs. But I think the level in that RFP is probably still at $30,000. There's stuff that we could take out, if we needed to cut it a little bit even more. But if we wanted to do the kind of the full range, and the comprehensive plan committee wants to make sure that people understand that if we were to get a consultant service, it's not for them to write the plan. The comprehensive plan committee wants to write the plan. They want it to be locally sourced, locally based. But there's a lot of things that a consultant could help with. They can coordinate the community outreach. They can do, they can be kind of like an interim place for people to bring comments where they don't feel like they're, necessarily giving them to a town employee, but they're giving them to a consultant, which can make people feel a little more safe. They can do formatting. It's just, the comprehensive plan committee can do a lot of work on the text, but the former plan was a Word document that has, pictures just plopped into the Word document. If you look at, newer comprehensive plans, there's quite a bit of formatting and website interfacing and things that a comprehensive plan, like a kind of newer, more modern comprehensive plan has that we could definitely use help with. And then just like broader picture goals for things that are coming down from the state and the federal government. We can also get quite a few points for implementing climate smart recommendations in our comprehensive plan. So just some of the more technical stuff, analyzing the census data, all that kind of stuff, would be really useful to have a consultant.
Have we used one in the past?
We have. We used MJ in the plan for 2013. It was very limited scope, and I think it was $10,500 in 2013. And they did they did some of the public outreach and reviewed the plan, but they didn't put it together. At the end, the volunteers did everything.
Can you repeat that? You said in 2013?
Yeah, we used MJ Engineering. Kathy Matern hired them to help with the comp plan at the time.
And
Okay.
that was approximately $10,500?
That's from my memory, but yeah, I do believe that's how much it cost.
That was the last one. Yeah. Well, you're pretty good with that outreach to the community and stuff like that.
So I love doing outreach. I can tell you though, I already feel, and the supervisor and I have had this conversation, but I already feel like we're not moving forward kind of fast enough on the comprehensive plan. And that's just a timing thing. I certainly can do those things, but it folds into what my suite of things that I already have to do. And so other things kind of have to fall off the table if that becomes a priority. I do love to do that because I'm a planner. Comprehensive plans are like literally the most fun thing that a planner can do. But I do think that a little bit of consultant help would definitely be a good thing.
Do other municipalities use consulting services when developing a comprehensive plan?
Yeah, I would say most of them do, and to some degree, I would say a fair amount of them will actually kind of farm the whole plan out. But that's not what our comprehensive plan committee wants to do. They want to maintain control over it, and they want it to be very locally based, and they don't want kind of, they like say this at the meetings, like a canned plan, like a canned comprehensive plan to just be, implemented over Niskuna with some tweaks. They really want it to be based off of, public input and grassroots building up of the plan. And then they just want it to, I'd say, look a little nicer than the last one. The last one is just a Word document.
Well, we've got some very, capable people on that
Yeah, we
committee.
do.
So
Yeah.
I would trust some of their judgments on that. But I think, to your point, Supervisor, that we do want to get some assistance in that, and it seems like you're sort of recommending that also.
I would recommend it. I mean, I think I would take whatever we can fund. If it can't be the full 30,000, I think we can keep massaging the skills that we have and working it into our workload. And this is what I meant to say when the supervisor and I are talking about it, that we want it to be the right quality and the best plan that it can be. And so if it takes a little bit longer, that's okay.
So right now, we only have $8,000 in there, is that correct?
Yeah, and that 8,000, 5,500 of it is for the Sims, which we pay for every year. And then that leaves 2,500, right? For things that I use consultant services for, which are occasionally like just having them look at an intersection for me or.
So
Or-
currently, there's nothing in the budget for the comprehensive plan consultant, really.
Really, no, there isn't, because I usually use about $2,000 in consultant fees every year outside of Sims.
So just in case anybody's watching this at home or streaming this later, I think it would be helpful to remind people what the comprehensive plan is, what it's, and why is it important for us as a town.
Yeah, so
You're speaking to folks, we understand it, but some people will be watching this at a later date and may want to understand.
Yeah, what's worth $30,000 of
Yeah.
good town money? Yeah. So, in the 70s, the New York State basically put out a mandate that said if you're going to adopt zoning, you need to have a comprehensive plan. And that means that the town is going to look ahead, typically 10 years, sometimes 30, to have a vision of what they're trying to bring the community to. So you can't just implement zoning over top of your town without understanding what you're trying to accomplish. And you can have a very bare bones comprehensive plan, or you can have a comprehensive plan that really leads your community and tries to raise the bar for what you're doing. And it should be guiding both the functions of, departments, and it should be guiding planning board decisions, town board decisions, zoning board decisions. And if you do it right and you reach out to the public and you do public surveys and you bring them here and you listen to what community concerns are and you fold that into things that you as a professional planner and as people elected to represent the town want to see as goals, then you build them into your plan, understanding that some of these things take 10 to 30 years, but they're going to bring the town to a better place. They're going to protect things that the town really cares about. For instance, like in the 2013 plan, they did a neighborhood survey, and some of the things that people felt were the livability factors, the things that people who were moving to Niskuna really wanted were, parks, schools, and walkability. And that was one of the first times that the comprehensive plan, really touched on the walkability, because it was something new that was happening. And it's one of the things that we cite now when we're building in walkability. It's one of the things that the planning board works on. It's actually one of the reasons that we revived the Streets for All, Safe Routes to School Committee and made it Complete Streets. So we use the comprehensive plan to look forward and then guide what we're doing with our boards and what we're doing with our decisions. And like, for instance, this time, I think walkability will be even more of a theme in the comprehensive plan, and things that we haven't touched on before, like climate change and resiliency, and how can the town plan for bigger storms, hotter days, those types of things. We've never discussed that in a comprehensive plan. That might come in there. Things like ways that we can create open space in the future, preserve open space in the future. Those things are things that the comprehensive plan is discussing right now, in addition to the usual things, which are important, because when you're putting together grant applications, you can cite to your comprehensive plan, and that always gives you points. But I mean, we even have, I call them mundane, he's not in the room, is he? You know, that the water and the sewer lines are old and that you know that they have to be replaced. So you even put in your comprehensive plan things that aren't so flashy, like we know that we have old infrastructure, and that's something that we have to plan for over time, is upgrading our infrastructure. All of that stuff goes into the comprehensive plan.
Something I didn't hear you mention was parks, youth facilities.
Mhm.
I have a lot of conversations about that. I also have a lot of conversations about Route 7.
Mhm.
How might the comprehensive plan impact those areas?
Yeah, it's definitely something that the comprehensive plan has been looking at. In 2015 or so, the town did a master park plan. It wasn't fully adopted, but it's pretty, I mean, there's concepts in there. And so they all have a copy of that. And one of the things is to merge some of those plans that were created between 2013 and 2023. And I think, you know, some of the things that are in that plan that they're looking at are upgrading the pool facilities, you know, upgrading the senior center building. I'd have to look specifically for youth facilities, but that's definitely something that, if we haven't touched on it before, it makes a lot of sense, because again, I don't think the livability factors are going to change that much from 2013. I do think that people look to parks, and they look to schools, and they look to sports, and they look to things to keeping their kids outside and making good choices and being healthy. So those type of things, I think, would all be there. As far as Route 7 goes, we're still working on putting out our survey, but the comprehensive plan is a great place to identify if there should be changes to Route 7 going forward, or if we would want to keep it the same. We've talked on a higher, more detailed schedule for maybe doing a corridor study on Route 7 and really looking at adjacent land uses and what makes the most sense for Route 7 in the town of Niskayuna. And the detailed study may not be ready for the comprehensive plan adoption, but the comprehensive plan is broad, overarching goals that guide the town. And so, you know, if we talk to residents and we talk to people that live on Route 7, and people do want to see a kind of land use change, or I know I've been talking to CDTA. They wanted to do a rapid bus line through there, but you need some kind of transit-oriented development on Route 7. Those types of discussions we really haven't had. But yeah, that would be something that would be interesting to have a consultant take a look at, maybe high level, give us a recommendation. That was
Okay. So you have a number in mind.
yeah, I would say 30,000 would be my ask. But I know Beth said she hadn't even looked at that yet, so she would have to see where it could come from and what could happen. Yeah. But I think that would be a good framework, and then if, you know, we needed to cut some of those items out, we could.
In my conversations with other municipal leaders, as well as people at CDTC, that's their new
CRTC.
CRTC.
Sad.
And remind me, what is their new acronym?
So it's Capital Region
Region
Transportation Council.
Yes, okay. When I met with their planning team, they had talked about other municipalities and their use of consulting services when updating their comprehensive plan. And, it is an investment in our future, an investment in our guiding document that helps us make important decisions over the next 10 years. I think it's really important to get it right. I think it's really important to recognize the majority of people on the committee are volunteers, except two, you and Clark.
Mhm.
Now, remind me again, does the RFP that you're looking to put out for the comprehensive plan consulting services, does it specify whether the consultant would help analyze the data that's collected?
Yeah, it has specific places where they would help analyze the data.
Okay,
Um,
because I think that's really important, the collection, the process for data collection, and then the analysis. And as you were saying, also the putting the plan together as a cohesive document.
yeah,
Now, currently, and in the past, it has been volunteers who help write the document.
yes,
Okay. And the consultant you're saying would help collect data, analyze data, and help compile the document, but not write the document?
yeah. I think the comprehensive plan committee really wants to still be the writers, but I think that it certainly would be helpful to have a consultant review. There's places that get pointed out to the planning board regularly because it's a relatively large document where there's current inconsistencies. So even just having a consultant read it through, highlight the places where there's inconsistencies, and then help guide, a common thread throughout the plan would be good.
I think it's helpful to know, I didn't know this previously, that the last comprehensive plan had some consulting.
Yeah, MJ. Yep.
Yeah.
So, I think it's an important investment
I
in our
agree.
future.
Yeah, and originally we did carve some stuff out of the RFP, which I think was good. Probably the original RFP was probably in the $50,000 to $60,000 range, because I was pie in the sky. Some things that the comprehensive plan could do are recommend changes to your zoning code. The zoning code's pretty old. It was really only adopted, in its entirety in 1971, and it's just had little tweaks since 1971. And so a lot of times you'll see comprehensive plans are recommending, pretty substantial changes to the zoning code over time. And I had in there that, they could look at the codes and make suggestions and stuff like that. That's probably secondary. So I think Jamie looked it over. It makes a lot of sense to pull that out. And it also brings the cost down. So next steps may take a while, and they should be separated. And this is just an RFP that's very specific to, like, let's get the comprehensive plan going and out there, and then completed in a very professional looking way.
And remind me, there are two chairs, or now there's only one chair for the comprehensive plan committee?
So there's only one. Mr. Diarpino had to step down. He's overcommitted at his job right now. So we had to go down to just one chairman. Dart Strayer is our chairman.
And turnover in the committee.
Turnover has been high, I would say, not because people are, unhappy, or at least I haven't heard that they were unhappy, but a couple of them moved out of town. Another one just had too many commitments with their child. So, yeah, I've already probably had about a 40 to 50% turnover. And everybody that comes new has been great, and I appreciate them. But it is kind of, it takes a little while to get them up and going, and we're assigning neighborhoods because our comprehensive plan is very neighborhood focused. So it breaks the town up into something like 18 neighborhoods maybe, and each person on the comprehensive plan is kind of responsible for a neighborhood or two, to walk that neighborhood, understand it, and kind of make sure that it's represented in the plan. And so when we lose people and then new people come in, yeah, it takes a little while to get them up and going.
Now, The chairs of the committee, did they have an opinion on whether or not we should hire a consulting firm to help with the comprehensive plan?
So both of them were in favor, with the caveat that the consultant doesn't write the plan, like the consultant doesn't take over. They definitely feel like they could use a lot of technical assistance, but they do want to make sure that the plan still remains very Niskayuna based and Niskayuna.
So Mr. DiArpino and Mr. Strayer both were in favor of hiring a consulting company to help complete the comprehensive plan.
Yes, absolutely. And both reviewed the RFP and were okay with it, even when it was bigger. We had
Ah.
to cut it down a little.
I understand. Okay. So on the recommendation of the chairs of the comprehensive plan committee, the recommendation of yourself, this is why you're bringing this forward for this additional support.
Yeah.
I think it's very telling, the turnover as well.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of
It's a lot of
work.
time.
It's a lot of time.
Um,
And it's a really important document.
So I think in any way we can to support them by doing this
Yes.
consulting is going to be necessary.
I think it's important we find ways to support this work and make sure it's done well. Not rushing it, done well, and have some additional expertise would be, I think, very important.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Originally, I felt like we had 1 year to get it done, and that was it. But, if you look at the way that towns are looking at their comprehensive plans now, they're considering them to be living documents that, are regularly being worked through, day in and day out at the town levels or the city levels. And so we've even talked about maintaining the comprehensive plan committee, not meeting monthly, but quarterly or biannually, moving forward, so that you can check in with the comprehensive plan, make sure that some of the recommendations are moving forward. One of the things that Clark just recently did, which I think is a great idea, is we have agenda statements that the planning board looks at to introduce projects, and they have a summary and then they have background information. And he added a comprehensive plan little thing. So every planning project that comes through, we should be checking the comprehensive plan and seeing how it fits in with the comprehensive plan and just making a statement there. Yeah, this is addressed on page 40, or this really doesn't even show up in the comprehensive plan, just so that the planning board's touching base with the comprehensive plan every planning board meeting, which I think is really helpful.
Thank you. That really, I feel that answered a lot of my questions. Bill, did you have any other
no,
questions?
I'm good.
Thank you.
Okay. Did you guys want to go through the lines? Are we doing that? Or are we not doing that too much?
They've been doing overviews,
Oh,
but do you have things you want to touch on next?
I don't really. The safety inspection, I think, was pretty regular. I worked with Beth and the supervisor on the sidewalks and safe routes, which is also underneath Ray. And we made sure that there's enough in there that if we get the Climate Smart grant for the sidewalks, that our match is planned. So can I just tell you, I think that's the first time we've ever fully planned and put in the budget ahead of time for a grant. So I'm very appreciative to the supervisor and Beth for that. I think it'll make a much smoother process. And zoning board stayed the same. Planning and zoning went down a little, but if we add in the comprehensive plan, it'll go up a little. And then the only thing I wanted to tell you guys, for Conservation Advisory Council, that's actually where we put the EV charging station fees. That was one of the reasons I brought that up in the overview. So that's page 14, 8090. I did have to ask for a little increase in that because when the people who were helping us install those charging stations gave us an estimate of how much energy was going to cost, they didn't include the delivery charges. So we were under budget this year, and I had to do budget transfers out of my own funds to pay for this. So we're trying to make sure we're covered next year. So that's why that went from 4,000 to 6,000. It's mostly just delivery fees from National Grid.
So let's go over that now. You say charging stations fees, and are we charging for people to use our stations?
We did decide to charge. So we do have a revenue line for the charging stations too.
What page
I-
is that on, Beth?
I don't think it covers everything, but it helps.
Well, I think we noticed that there were certain places, the ones here at Town Hall are free, correct, still?
The ones at Town Hall are free. That's because
Um,
they were grant funded.
They were grant funded, which we knew.
Mhm.
So they get some use, but not a lot. And we do have a restriction on there, right?
Yeah, 4 hours.
Yeah,
So
Okay.
right now, we have, it's under A0024,
What page, Bill?
page 20 of 48. It's line 2450. It's a new line. We've
yeah.
got a placeholder in there right now of $500. We were doing research on that to see exactly how much we're getting in. So I need to double check that line in terms of the revenues before the next round of the budget.
so chosen 2022, there was $512. That's an actual, correct?
Yes.
Frank, do you have anything current on that? Thank you.
And
Yeah.
that's why we had a $500 placeholder in there. It didn't have a line previously, so this is kind of a new line that we're working on, and we're trying to get it to be the right amount.
And the stations went online at different times.
Yeah,
So 2022, I think they weren't online.
only one was, I think, for,
Yeah. They've all been up and running for 2023 though.
and that's where we should be.
And Lions Park gets a lot of use.
Okay, so right now we're at $230, but again, the payments lag because it's through this third-party company, so we're trying to get a better understanding of what the actuals are gonna end up looking like.
Yeah, so they pay us, I think, quarterly, and we may have only gotten 2 payments so far. Only one. So yeah, that's probably not representative of the revenue that we have this year so far. It's not a lot though. I think we charge them 25 cents a kilowatt hour, which is higher than if they were going to plug in at their home. But it's not a terribly high charge.
Well, we're not really gonna make money, but we have to at least try to offset our costs.
Yeah, that's essentially, it doesn't cover so the $6,000 isn't actually energy costs. Each station, I think it's about $1,220 a year for the software and the maintenance. So the almost $4,000 is just regular maintenance of those stations. And then so the energy costs right now I'm budgeting like 2,500. And I'm just telling you, I learn something new every day. The delivery costs are like 2 or 3 times higher than the energy costs. So,
Where you got to get it there though. So
Right,
It's got to be
exactly.
figured in.
but I would say the 25-cent kilowatt hour offsets entirely what the town is paying for electricity. So
But
because
does
we
that
aren't paying
also
25
cover
cents a
the
kilowatt hour.
delivery?
Yeah, it's
We
hard
have
to
not
tell
done
that.
Extensive enough research to be able to answer that yet.
Because you're paying delivery even at your own home.
It's true. But I can tell you 25 cent a kilowatt hour is about what gets charged. If the town was to raise it, then you may not get the charging because it just becomes not economical and then you're really not getting any money back. So we could look and adjust that rate because we're allowed to change the rate and we can see what the going rates are. But at some point, if you're like, this isn't covering our electricity costs, we should raise it to 50 cent a kilowatt hour. No electric vehicle is going to plug in there because they're pretty smart. They check the rates. It has to be a relatively competitive rate or they'll just wait till they get home.
Okay, we got to find the right place to be.
Yeah.
Can we go to licensing and you've got building and alteration permits,
For that's also on page 20, right?
20,
Yep.
yeah.
Mhm.
So 2022, 226,000. Now in 23, we budgeted 165 and now we're going up to 250.
Our permits have been going down, but revenue has been going up. We did adjust our fees to be more consistent with our surrounding communities. So we did a gut check, I think a year and a half ago, maybe, of where the other towns were, and we were a little low, even though everybody complains about their building fees. So we did raise them a little bit. So even though, available land is down, and I think development is a little down just because we don't have the available land anymore, the permit fees have still been higher than the year before.
The numbers are down, but the revenue is up, is what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. The
And that-
permit numbers are down, revenue
And
goes up.
Last year's budget was based on the decreasing permit numbers with the old amounts associated with it, and it was prior to the amounts being adjusted.
We did see, and we'll have to see if this trend continues, but we did see a ton of private home, kind of building permits, like
There was a lot of
addition-
remodeling going on.
A lot of
during-
remodeling, yes,
Right
and that's
after the
partly because
pandemic.
so many people were working from home, so they were making a lot of changes in their home. They also couldn't go on vacation, so they were investing in their home. So I think that's a reason that we've had a lot of value. We'll see if that trend continues or not. The one thing too that Beth and I noticed is that the vacant registration fees for the vacant homes, it is a new source of revenue for the town. It only applies to people who have, really, it's not for people who are going to Florida and leaving their home for 6 months. That's fine. Snowbirds are always welcome in the town of Niskuna. It's for people who truly abandon those homes. And the idea is that it increases every year to make an incentive to turn the homes over. So I think Beth and I were just chatting. We're going to make sure that we add that revenue in there. It's not a ton of money. We've taken in $6,000 so far this year. We would expect to take in at least that much next year because every year the fees go up. So these homes that are registering now, if they don't turn over next year, it was $500 for them this year. It'll be $1,000 next year. So I would expect that we would be at least in the $6,000 range for revenue on vacant home registration next year, hopefully higher, because we will be sending out notice and orders to homes that are vacant that haven't registered yet.
So that'll be an additional revenue line on page 19. It'll be between the CAC green energy rebate and the engineering referral fee based on the line number that the money's going in. So that'll be added in for the next iteration.
So we'll be conservative with $6,000, but if we're able to get more response to our vacant home registration letters, it should be a little more. The other thing about that, which doesn't go into the budget, is that they can be levied even if somebody's not paying them. And then when the home goes into foreclosure or does sell, it gets paid as part of that sale or part of the foreclosure. And so the town will be made whole for those vacant registration fees, but that doesn't go in the budget. But we're trying to do that so that these homes are registered, we have contacts, they don't stay vacant, and there's a little bit of revenue to the town for all that work. I think that's all I have, unless you guys had individual questions. I really feel like the town board has been very supportive of a lot of these initiatives, and I'm very thankful for that.
Okay, if there's nothing
All right.
else. Thank you, Laura.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Fix those in the back.
Okay.
Why don't we take a 5-minute break and then we'll come back for our next department. Okay, welcome back. We're moving on with our second budget workshop, and we'll be moving on to the Highway Transportation and Parks Department.
Good morning.
Morning.
So I'll start with our goals and our achievements for this year. So this year we were able to accomplish many projects around the town. In parks, paving of Avon Crest, drainage improvements at Babe Ruth, River Road Park is underway now. Parking and playground was put in outside of our normal work. So, you know, our goal is to, even if we can't do all of a project, to do a partial part of it to save us money and get more bang for our buck. So we will continue to do that in 2024. It gives more for our residents, and at the end of the day that we're able to accomplish these things. Highways and our mechanicals and all that, you know, we rely on our staff. We have many different backgrounds and many different things. I can tell you last year that we got prices on leaf boxes to retrofit some of the newer vehicles. The old ones don't work. So we were able to buy the steel for 2 leaf bodies at a lower cost than it would have cost us to buy 1 body. So in-house fabrication, painting, stuff of that nature to help ease the burden on just going out and buying something. So we have a very knowledgeable staff, definitely believe in putting people in the right positions to do the right things. And like I say, we have a lot of different backgrounds that allows us to do more than a normal highway department would do. So I'm very thankful for my staff and that knowledge. They do a great job for me as well as all the residents of the town. So we want to continue that in 2024. This year, the department in their we had a pretty successful year in auctioning off the surplus equipment. We're not done yet because we're still waiting on items we're waiting on a 6-wheeled plow truck from 2 years ago. And so these things take time, and that's why I say we purchase now. It doesn't, we're just not running to the store and picking it up. It takes time. What I've asked to replace, we're band-aiding together to get us through until these things come. So so I'll just give you a quick rundown of what we've done. And so general fund, we raised $8,780. That was the bus. And when we built the memorial out front, we palletized all the brick that was there, which we really didn't have a use for. They could have went to the landfill. We palletized them, and I spoke with Beth, and we auctioned them off. So we got some money for those. Parks Department, we got rid of a trailer, used mower, and a 2009 pickup truck with a plow. We raised $20,225 to put back into the fund balance for parks. Highway Department, at the end of last year, we got rid of some military surplus that we had at the very end of the year that we had used, and it's become outdated and stuff. So we sold that off at the very end of last year. And then this year we sold off a tandem dump truck, a pickup truck, 2 pickup trucks, a cement mixer, and we raised $85,730. So I know as we discuss, as we ask for new items, I know, Bill, you always ask, are we going to utilize this? And this is, the funds that are raised are done because we watch the market and we try to sell the items that are, when they will bring the highest price. You don't sell a lawnmower in the middle of winter. You're not going to get anything for it. So we're able to hold it and try to release our assets when they're worth the most amount of money. So that's an accomplishment by, the staff that does this. Paving this year, we did just under 4 miles with $525,000 in our paving budget. As we all experienced, the cost of oil is up, and that increases the cost in asphalt. So we were able to do that with the funds that we had. So we applied for CHIPS reimbursement through the New York State Paving Department of Transportation for paving. So out of that 525, we've submitted for $316,768.23 to be put back into our fund balance. So that is all applied for after the work is done, and they reimburse you for those funds. Well, I think that's it for that. I gave both Jamie and Bill a copy of what I submitted with Beth during our first meetings for items for purchase this year. And thank you and the board for all the support that we've had in the past on keeping our department current. We want to start with buildings, right, Beth?
Sure.
Page 5.
So we're starting on page 5.
Yeah, 5.
Okay, so talk to us about the equipment, capital outlay, 22, there was 150 in there, and there's nothing in there this year.
I'll let Beth speak to that.
So that's the money we had budgeted for all the repairs that needed done here at Town Hall, based on delays and various things, and just time frame. Ray's crew has only been able to spend about $10,000 of that we had budgeted. So what we intend to do is, at the end of this year, whatever had remained unspent from this year, we are going to shift into a capital project specifically designated for repairs to Town Hall. And that way we were able to not put money in that line for next year, because we will be using the money that was budgeted for this year but was not able to be spent.
Okay, but we are making repairs around here.
Absolutely,
We
yes.
put
We're
money
gonna,
in the budget. We were gonna hire contractors to do some of this work. Couldn't even find contractors
Correct.
to do the work. So Ray and his crew have taken on a lot of the work.
they
themselves.
have, and they've done an amazing job with this. I mean, you can see the patio out the front there that they've done. They're doing beautiful work. It just takes longer. So rather than keep putting money in a line that we've already got funded, we didn't want to do that. So this will just be a designated capital fund specific to repairs for Town Hall, and that way they can continue the work on a timeline that's more suitable.
Good, right. So the money is still gonna be there.
Yes.
So a little bit of more of that will disappear this year. We're currently called locations in for some sidewalks that were identified. So locations have been called in for that. The crews will be up to work on a few of them, panels out front, in front of the police department and up by the handicap parking. So we will use a little bit more of it. And And I appreciate the patience. When we come up to do a job, we're not like a contractor. We can't be here every day. We still have to do our regular job. So we do our best, and
Yeah, but eventually it gets done.
I appreciate the patience with it. And I'm glad we have a good outcome at the end. And I will say, when I sat down and did my proposals with Beth, Beth has all the actuals and really stays in line with them. So, even though I have to argue with her once in a while, but not very often. You have any other questions on that one?
Not on that page, no. What's next?
So next, we're going to go to page 7. Traffic control.
So I asked the chief a little bit about that in the signs. So
I
the,
have as well, just so you know.
the radar signs are coming out of your budget, correct?
No,
The one-
traffic signs.
The traffic signs. The radar signs are coming out of his budget, the ones that get moved around.
Correct.
Yeah, but your department is actually the labor that's,
Well, they're starting to
Correcting
do a
them
little bit of their own. So
okay.
we just assist them to help them move them. They're the ones that are still on the sign poles are very big and bulky. So,
Mm-hmm.
but they've made that adjustment. They made a lot of them trailer mounted, and they're able to go move them themselves. But we do have still a few that are on poles.
Yeah, I think they've been effective.
Yep, I think so.
They are work, but they have been effective. At least I hope.
So you will see an increase in traffic signs themselves. So as identified around the town, we have a lot of our street signs are starting to fade. Stop signs are starting to fade, and we do canvass the areas, and you get ones that get graffiti on them. They're pretty much impossible to clean. So just as a normal upgrade in the cost, signs are aluminum. So the cost of them has gone up as well. So we made a small adjustment here to help cover, the sign posts, the bases, all that stuff. The prices have gone up because steel is up. So just in general, we struggle, like one year we would have to go without buying posts because of the amount of signs we bought. So this will help us stay at even keel. Any question? Page 8. Highway admin.
Pretty much flat,
Pretty much flat.
small increase.
Page 9.
There's been an increase in miscellaneous and contractual.
So, increase in miscellaneous contractual. So, a lot of things that used to be itemized in different lines, our purchasing policy makes us charge these to miscellaneous. There's a threshold for assets versus just repairs and maintenance and stuff like that. So, over the years, we've lost a line or two there, and it's fallen down into miscellaneous. That's why that is. So, like a garage door repair would fall under miscellaneous rather than its own separate line because it's not an asset. Page 10. You got any more questions?
Not for that page. Page 10, yes.
Huh?
Page 10, yes.
All right.
All right, so
Shoot.
personnel services, we see that that's up from 22, it increased in 23, up, quite a bit in 24's budget. And then if we kind of go down, your equipment line was pretty substantial in 23 and now has gone down in 24. So some of the equipment that we decided to go ahead and purchase this year,
Yes.
right? Okay. Okay.
So, a cost of a mower is almost 3/4 the cost of a pickup truck now. So, we were, we've got our fleet pretty close to being replaced, what is pretty much unusable. So, we scaled back a little bit there. We did some big purchases of some big mowers in the past. So we're good there for now. So these are a few small mowers, one more 1-ton dump for taking care of the facilities, snow plowing. It's used in the summer to move equipment around and everything. So, yes, it did go down some.
And back to personal services full-time.
Huh?
That reflects the added parks worker that was in there.
Yep,
That's why that is up.
correct.
Well, we're very hopeful it will be up, right?
We are very hopeful.
Because we know the struggles that you've had to get employees.
And we're very thankful for that. We've hatched around trying to come up with different ways to accomplish all that we have to accomplish. And, and we've identified some things that we could probably do different, by assigning things to people rather than just send a crew out. So this is the way that we feel we can correct a lot of things and give the attention to what really we need to give attention to. Oversight is big. You want to make sure that things get checked once a week. The bike paths, unless you walk them, you don't see an issue. You don't see a tree down. You can do it periodically and know in the back of your mind that you got to go trim the brush along the bike path and all that. But, you never really have a slow time to execute that. You have to find time. So we're hoping that this makes a big difference. And, for the amount that they do and the amount of grass that we mow,
The amount of parks you maintain.
amount of parks we maintain, just the demand is there. We strive to try to give the facilities the best we can. We're still behind a little bit. There's more we could do.
Well, you've been down with people.
Right. And just, a body coming in it takes some time to learn the town. It takes some time to learn how we do things. It takes some time to learn where they're going and what they're doing. So, it takes a good 6 to 8 months before they get in a routine. So we're thankful for that and looking forward to it. Any other concerns on there, Bill?
No.
Page 14. It's just storm sewers. We have a couple small things in there.
Nothing really specific
Nothing.
there.
Actually, a lesser amount in the highway miscellaneous.
Let's go to 15. You can talk to us about yard waste disposal, because your personnel services are up in that line. And I see the information you gave us here today. And then you've got your equipment for 185. That's for a new
Packer truck.
Packer truck, which,
So last year, we had issues with one of the Packers. Actually even went through finance and all that for $11,000 transmission. We opted not to go that route. We did some small adjustments. It's
getting through town.
It's moving. All right. So we opted to save that money for that repair. Just was having a hard time swallowing putting $11,000 in a $5,000 truck. So
That's all that's worth. Wow.
if you're lucky, that business has gone all robotic arms. So the need for our type are pretty much obsolete.
I know some other towns, like up in Saratoga, they have a little bit of a different thing. They bring a loader like down the street, and this is for their loose leaf, and then they
Yeah.
just like pick up the pile with that. I don't.
That's
know.
how we did it back in the day.
That doesn't seem very. I
In the
think what we
80s.
do now is a lot better.
Pre-vacuums, that's how we did it. Loaders and tractors with scraper blades on them.
Yeah,
Showing my age.
they're still doing it in Saratoga.
Well,
So that 185 is for a new Packer.
yes, that's a standalone price for a Packer with a body.
And just so you know, stand up so you can hear me, for this one, because this is a service that we offer and we do reflect that in the yard waste fees, the added personal services and the increases in prices we've seen in this, I am recommending that the yard waste fee be increased from $58 to $61 next year, just to account for the incredible increases we have seen both in the labor costs and also, just everything, the cost of fuel and so forth. But I think we can still maintain that service for just a very small increase.
Since we're on the topic of leaf pickup, are other municipalities continuing with this service, or are you starting to see any outsourcing of it in any capacity?
I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I knew a couple years ago, I think either Scotia or Glenville was hiring the city to pick up yard waste. I don't know if they continue to do that or not. Because they didn't have the resources or Packer truck to do so. That was a few years ago. I'm not current on it.
It's kind of important that we do it. I guess, there's two aspects to that, right? It, as you said, Beth said, it does become more costly, but just, as you said, if anybody watches this, I mean, we're disposing of this environmentally. We're not putting it in a landfill. That's going and being composted, the yard waste that we collect, right? And
Right.
goes along with our loose leaf and brush and all of that stuff. So it's properly disposed of, if you will, rather than, said, going to a landfill,
Right. And the cost is much greater to go to a landfill.
Yeah,
I think in all fairness, whatever fees, it doesn't cover the cost of the process in which we do. It's only a partial to help the increase in cost.
Right.
So, I mean,
but we offer that as a fee, again, with the yard waste pickup during the summer to the residents. If maybe they don't bag their grass or they don't feel that they need it. I don't bag my grass, but I still need the yard waste pickup because I've got sticks and other, you have other yard waste that you need to get rid of. So I think it's a good idea, and the loose leaf, that's available to all of our town residents, again, to get that material and get it composted properly.
And I will say that, if we had to dispose of this outside, it would be, I couldn't even imagine how much more.
Yeah.
More than double, I'm sure. Just the tipping fees alone, plus the time it would take you to, when that truck is driving the dump, wherever it is that you go with it, that truck isn't picking up bags. We already struggled to pick up bags in an 8-hour day,
Yeah.
per zone. a lot of stuff, a lot of man hours in this. This is almost like a whole separate entity that, you know, between the manpower, the trucks, the maintenance, it's like its own animal. So, you know, but we keep moving forward. We keep trying to find ways to do it cheaper without losing any services. So, it's well used, I can tell you that.
Yep, yes, it is.
The piles and the yardage that we do in a year is astronomical.
We're a tree city too, right?
We are
got
a
lot
tree
of-
city,
We got a lot of trees, right?
and we pay for it on the
Well,
other end, but
Yeah, well, we do, but in the grand scheme of things and the shade they provide and all the other benefits, it kind of works out.
it is very labor intensive. It is costly to maintain them trucks and, you know, staff and all that, so. Number 16, shade trees, stayed the same.
How is that going? That all right?
Yeah, we're down a little bit this year on hiring subcontractors to do backyard trees. We have used some of the miscellaneous for that, but last year I know we were right at the wire. So we only use that. We only subcontract when we can't get to
Right.
them.
No, I know. You try to do the best you can with your own forces. And our
And
planting is going all right, tree
planting,
planting?
Laura is working on a plan for Hillside. Um, I know she did some flags out there with a proposal for a partial. We would get a partial reimbursement from National Grid through their program for shorter trees under power lines and stuff like that. And she wanted to utilize some of the bare root trees from the Elm Institute on the other side of the road where there are no wires. So she stays on me quite a bit about the tree planting, just so you know.
I'm sure.
So she has some projects in mind for that, and we will try to continue with the plantings from the trees that we remove. We take a tree down in a neighborhood, we plant a new one. So
Right.
I know that list is lagging a little bit, not so much because of funding, but because of time for us to get them in. You know, if we have a chance where we can get 10, go over to the nursery, if we get a better deal on them at the end of the season,
Right.
and then, you know, if we can get up to 10 trees in to replacement, we would love to do so. So that's a good program.
Okay.
Twenty-three. 23. So general repairs down a little bit in the patching mix. Beth pulled in actuals on me for that. Overtime, just up a little bit, and I think that just reflects best tracking of our time and close to what we had budgeted. I think everything else there is the same. Permanent improvements. Some decreases by actuals. Any questions on any of them?
No,
24.
Snow removal is up a little bit.
Yeah, we, up a little bit due to, we asked for a small increase for salt.
And then your labor's up some, but.
Yeah.
That's people.
Thinking that's it.
That's it. Are you seeing many, is Verizon done with their digging? Are we getting more permits from them for?
I
more
haven't seen
areas?
any, lately. I have a supervisor out marking, some repairs that are to be made on Rose Hill Boulevard today. Dan from engineering reached out to the contractor. We kind of, identified where they had done some molding underneath Rose Hill Boulevard, had pushed the blacktop up, so, they're coming out to make them necessary repairs, so that's in the works right now. I haven't seen a recent permit from
Let's
them,
get end of the season, I don't know.
but I have seen a lot of their trucks, they must be doing the internals, hooking up in the boxes and stuff. I have seen quite a few of their trucks around town, so I'm guessing they ran the infrastructure and now they must be kind of working on, tying everything together.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay.
Thank you.
You're
Thanks,
welcome.
Ray.
Thank you for your time and your support.
All right, we'll take a few moments for a short break and then we'll return. All right, welcome back to our second round of budget workshop talks, and we're moving on to the town clerk's office.
Thank you. I'm going to start with my accomplishments from this year. Once again, yard waste is always a topic that's I have to bring up. This year, we were able to make it a lot more efficient for our residents to pay yard waste. And we had, I think it was about 500 and something people that did pay online. And also, thanks to Seth, we were able to get quite a few people opting out of the yard waste online. So that was huge because that really cut down on the amount of mail, the volume of mail that we would get into our office with people opting out and people paying, and that helped the process in our office move along quite smoothly. We're still in the audit process, so I don't have final figures for all that. That takes a couple weeks at least to get everything audited and get final numbers, but I'll have final numbers for you then. Plans for 2024, we're still working on the records room. We weren't able to accomplish the grant that I was trying to get last year. It was just too much of a volume that my staff, just the three of us, would have to put into this. And we just didn't have, with all that we had to do in the office, we weren't going to be able to do that downstairs. So what I did was I invited the departments to come to a New York State records retention and disposition webinar. And that was very helpful because they gave us all sorts of ideas on, what to do with the records, how to dispose of them. And we do have a lot of employees that are new. So I did send out the retention schedule to everybody again. And we're going to try to work on cleaning it out first, because a lot of it has maybe a 6-year retention. And I think everybody's kind of gotten away from making sure it's cleaned out. Not all departments, because some departments are spot on. So we really need to, especially all the maps and everything. Seth and I discussed in the meeting too about scanning in some of these maps. A lot of this has to be saved, like forever. It's permanent. So Seth was talking about an IT grant that we might look into so that we can send things out to be scanned. But then we would need the town has to come up with a resolution as to, okay, so now everything's scanned. Now, when do we dispose of what was scanned? So it's all something that we have to work out. That's about it. Any questions? No?
And on that stuff, no.
Okay. All right, so you want to move to the town clerk section. That's on page 1 down at the bottom. Oh, I must have had something. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, I'm going off the act.
Okay.
So page 3
Okay,
on yours.
page,
at the bottom.
okay. So the yard waste billing, that has gone up quite a bit. That's one thing that had to be increased. There you go. I don't know about salaries, but do we do that here? Or do we just wait for that?
Anything you want.
Okay, so I am asking that my first deputy, bless you, first deputy does get an increase. I want her to go to the level of supervisor because she does supervise, so that she would then continue to go through the steps, moving up as the years go on. That was it for salaries. And everything else, I think, pretty much stayed the same, correct, Beth? Yeah,
There's just a little bit of adjustment based on what we were seeing for actuals.
yeah. We do have to be careful with the mailings. The mail machine, that's very expensive. So we have to watch that every year, especially at the end of the year, because Diane has to get the bills out, and so that's a lot of expense there. So we have to watch that. But I think we'll be okay this year, next year. And then records management,
Page 4.
that basically is the same. We're taking out that grant money. And then vital records, that basically stayed the same.
That is on page 8. The registrar of vital assistance.
Yep.
Yep.
That's the same. And that's it.
That's it?
That's all I have.
That wasn't too hard. So what do you think about that? If you were talking about trying to go through those records and get rid of stuff and,
Yeah, that it's going to be a big project for everyone, especially with the building department and planning. Their records have to be kept and permanently, a lot of them. And I think if we can get those maps scanned somehow, and even if we decide, yes, we have to save them, once they're scanned, it'll be easier for them to retrieve them, but then we can like contain them over to one side more so, and that would create more room for their records. A lot of departments just have to get back on that schedule of cleaning out and realizing what you keep, what you don't keep. You can't just like clean out of an office and then just dump it downstairs,
right?
which has kind of been happening. So we're trying to get everybody away from
Because
that.
there could be stuff that doesn't need to be
Does-
saved and there's too much
Yeah, like
material
past
already.
years, just phone books or, receipt books that, you don't have to save forever. So, but we'll work on that.
Okay.
Anything else? We did have quite an increase for vital records so far with new births, marriages, and deaths year to date. With everything that we've done, we're up to 4691. That was year to date last week. Now we've gone up quite a bit in the past week or so. We have new births are at 1,400, marriages are at 39, deaths are at 67 at this point. So it's increasing, especially with new births. There's a lot more new births this year based from last year. So
The hospital's busier.
they are busy. Yeah, they are. Yeah. I think that's it. No
I'm
more
good.
questions?
Thanks, Michelle.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. I will get Diane for you.
Thanks.
Okay.
All right, we'll just take a brief break.
myself representing them.
Pardon?
This is,
Yes.
oh, I was thinking everybody was going to be here.
Okay, well, sorry. Welcome back. We're reconvening our workshop. This is our second day budget workshop, and we're moving on with the receiver of taxes office and our receiver of taxes.
Good afternoon. From prior year, I don't have many changes to the budget. Does anybody have any questions? The only question I have is I'm working with our town controller, Beth. We had this negative 2018. I don't know, are we being transparent because it went down our part-time personal services says 2,000, but really that was going to be moved over and stayed the same at 4,000?
Right, remember I said that's an allocated position, so it's the same amount, but it's an allocated. because
Right, but I'm just showing where is this negative 2,000 because it's going over to Public Works?
It's just that that section of the budget is less by 2,000 than it was last year. And we made the adjustment based on the actuals for that part-time position, and because it's an allocated position, that reflects.
Right,
the
so I just
actual
want to be
better.
transparent that it's really still about 4,000 for my part-time
Correct,
and
yes.
this. So I just wanted to
It's
let
just
that be known that it's really, I mean, my budget's not negative 2,000 per se. It's 2,000 is going over to, do we call it Public Works or?
It's allocated across the water and sewer funds. Because that position works, taking in the bills for the water and sewer funds as well. All three of your positions are allocated. They always have been.
Right, so I'm just trying to make that transparent. So as I'm not going.
Meaning you're
down.
not losing an individual. It's just that,
Or a $2,000 portion of my part-time services.
Right, it's been allocated someplace
Correct,
else.
I just
Got
wanted-
it. Right,
If you had
because,
questions about that, that's why I just.
because of the work that you do, your office does, it gets allocated over different
Correct.
areas. Because you not only, you collect water bills and you collect school bills and all
Correct.
that. Right.
Correct.
thank you.
You
Thank
got it.
you.
Good. No, that's good. Want to be clear.
Yes, and sometimes we know, but maybe the public who is
Correct.
watching this at another time would
Right.
not understand that and might have a question. So thank you.
Thank you. No, I just wanted to make that transparent. Otherwise, I don't see any other changes or I don't have any other thing dispute or do you have any questions?
Have you seen an increase in people paying with credit cards for their taxes?
Increase in credit cards was definitely more the school tax. Increase of foot traffic was also back with this school collection.
I know I did. I saw a lot of people coming in.
Yes, so that was an increase. There's still a cash payment increase too. So,
Interesting, real cash.
yes. Not monopoly money.
No, that's a lot of money to count.
Yeah. It's always been high, but there seemed to be a little bit more increase in that. Also, cash payments and the foot traffic, which I'm imagining, I'm sure in your utility collections starting the end of the week, that it will be foot traffic again. I'm not sure, you know. And I mean, also the drop box too, not as much mail.
Yeah, we see that on Saturdays or in the farmer's market. A lot
Yeah.
of people coming in and putting it in the.
Which is a
drop
nice
box.
convenience. I'm just saying that it just seemed to pick up.
Right.
Yeah. Which is nice to see people. It's just,
And the credit card fees, they're paid by the person using the credit
oh,
card.
of course. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Diane.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so that is all we have for our second day of budget workshops. This will conclude our second day of budget workshops, and we will reconvene for our final day of workshops tomorrow at 4 p.m. Thank you.